Welcome to our weekly podcast with GeauxPreps.com and CrescentCitySports.com. Ken Trahan, joined by my friend Hunter Bauer. And, of course, we've arrived at the final week of the prep football regular season. The LHSAA prep volleyball playoffs underway. Soccer's about to get started as we have sports converging, and it's always fun. Basketball looming on the horizon, too, Hunter. These are fun times.
Yeah, it's crossover season at its finest, and but that's okay. Basketball's going on, volleyball playoffs are heating up, and man, I just can't believe we're finally in week 10 of the high school season. The power ratings are heating up, the matchups are heating up, so it's a great time for high school sports, Ken.
Volleyball playoffs underway. Some matches taking place yesterday, many today, and as much as any sport we have in the LHSAA, this sport's all about the traditional powers. And
right.
I think the numbers reflect that when you look at the programs. Dominican, a top seed, 3 consecutive state championships, Country Day, 7 straight state championships. St. Thomas More has won a couple in a row, and they've dominated along with Turlings in their class. But, you get the picture. Look, this is a sport where the traditional powers always seem to be the teams to beat.
Yeah, no doubt. And I actually had a chance this morning to actually go and look through each bracket. And, I was comparing it to last year, and it seemed like a lot of the teams that were seeded high last year are seeded high this year. So it just goes to what you say. It's more the traditional schools. But, the Dominicans, the St. Thomas Moores, the Newmans, I think they all have a shot. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of cool to look into the future and see what those championship matchups could be. Like, for instance, in Division 4, you could have a Newman-John Curtis matchup, which I think would be really interesting. And then Hannon in Division 3, they've got a good squad this year. They've had wins over Dominican and Parkview Baptist. So they're probably a favorite in Division 3 as well. And then, like you said, Country Day, them and Westminster went at it last year. There's a chance those two can meet again this year. So it's really exciting, though. It really is an exciting time for volleyball and how that sport has grown and how those programs have grown with the sport. And it makes for great contests and great atmospheres, especially in the Cajun Dome for the state championship. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a good playoff for the volleyball teams and some great championship matchups.
Yeah, look, Division 1, Dominican, Mount Carmel are 1 and 2, and they've combined to win, the last 9 or 10 state championships to 2. Then, of course, in Division 2, you can say the same thing about St. Thomas More and Turlings Catholic. They've combined to win the last 11 state championships in that class. And then, of course, you mentioned Hannon in Division 3. They're really good. Newman in 4 has had a really good year. They're the defending champion. Of course, Country Day has absolutely dominated Division 5. But of course, the championship's coming up in Lafayette here in a couple of weeks, but first-round matches are underway. With regard to football, we've arrived at Week 10 of the regular season, and GeauxPreps does a great job with the power ratings. I suggest everyone go there to check out the latest. We wrote a piece on it on Monday about some of the ramifications for New Orleans area teams and what happens this week, and the scenarios are pretty clear and some not so clear and others. Let's talk about some of these games and what they mean. First of all, on Thursday, you've got a really intriguing matchup in Baton Rouge area. Catholic High, traditional power, against unbeaten Zachary. These are two teams that are obviously playing for high seeds.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just going through Zachary's schedule, they've passed every test that's been thrown their way this far. Not to say that their next test is going to be any easier. Catholic Baton Rouge is coming in. They want to, they're fighting for a first-round bye. And Zachary's looking to hang on to that top 3 seed in its bracket. So, I'll probably say this a lot throughout the podcast, but these games are so much more than district championship. They're so much more than rivalries. These are teams that are looking to lock in a playoff spot, a top playoff spot, and maybe even a first-round bye. Catholic owns a 4-game win streak over the Broncos since 2016. The Bears won last year 24-21 in a tight matchup. Daniel Bill, quarterback for Catholic, is just playing lights out right now. He was 18 of 27 for 334 yards last week, so he's playing really good. But Zachary has one of the best defenses in the state, 11.5 points per game. They're limiting 5 of 8 opponents to 7 points or less. But Catholic allowed 127 points in their first 4 games. They've only allowed 67 in the last 5. So they've really come on as a team lately as well. They had those tough 2 losses in the first half of the season, but they're playing really well right now. This is one of those toss-up, Kens. I don't know. My heart says Zachary, but who knows? Catholic has owned this series the last couple of years, so I think it's going to be a really close matchup. But I think Zachary pulls it out in the end. I think they've got a really good team this year, and they're looking to get back to the Superdome. Both of them are.
If they're going to get them, this might be the year to get them, and that's not diminishing the Bears at all. The Bears are still good.
No.
They're just not great, but they're good. And, by the way, Daniel Beal, it seems like he's been there 100 years. I did game his freshman year in the playoffs against Rummel, and he burst on the scene then, and he's really good, and he's still playing. And obviously they've had a really good year, so never sell the Bears short. But I'm with you. The Broncos are good. Friday games, you've got a really intriguing matchup. A cross-sectional matchup. Karen Crow's making the trip to southeast Louisiana to take on Archbishop Shaw. The Eagles they're dangerous. They're 7-2. They're better than their record and haven't been tested in a while. Karen Crow, of course, coming off of that debilitating loss where it looked like they were going to beat Acadiana, but it was their first loss, 1-point game. But this is an intriguing matchup. I think it tells us we know what Karen Crow is and what they've been in recent years. I think this tells us more about Archbishop Shaw. They're big up front. They've got a good quarterback who can run and throw it. They've got Jasper Parker, who's a good running back. Washington's a good receiver. This is a game where I think we find out a lot more about Shaw and whether Shaw is legitimate in terms of challenging the top dogs in Division II.
Yeah, first off, I applaud for Coach Tierney for what he's done over there at Shaw in such a short amount of time. This goes to show you how great of a coach he is. Like you said, Karen Crow's, they're looking to bounce back from that disappointing loss. Shaw's on a 7-game win streak. They're trying to lock up a first-round bye for them as well. So, again, hats off to Coach Tierney and his team. Quarterback Mason Wilson, he's led the Eagles to several convincing victories over the last few weeks. They're averaging 45 points a game in their last 7 games. But you also got to look at Karen Crow's side. You got Chance Babineau, sophomore sensation. He can light up the scoreboard, Ken. 2,300 yards passing on the year, 26 touchdowns. And a Karen Crow win could help them lock up a top 4 seed in that first round bye. So, again, a lot to play for these two teams. But as you said, Shaw's really improved. I think they've kind of been not really overlooked, but they've just kind of flown under the radar this year a little bit. But I think this matchup is going to be their coming out game, especially if they can lock up a win against Karen Crow. It's going to send a message to all over the state that Shaw's coming for that state title.
Yep, Karen Crow did their semifinal game last year, and Babineau was some player then. He's even better this year.
Yes, he is.
That'll be fun. Of course, game live on CrescentCitySports.com Friday night. Showdown between E.D. White Catholic at 9-0, St. James at 8-1. Games in beautiful downtown Vacherie. E.D. White's been terrific. Kyle Lassaine's done a fantastic job. Levante's done a great job at St. James. This is a game that we've anticipated all season long. It's arrived, and here we go. And look, E.D. White looks like the favorite on paper based upon what they've accomplished, but having to play where they're playing certainly is a bit of an equalizer.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think this is one of the better district championship matchups throughout the state this week. 9-0 E.D. White against an 8-1 St. James. We all know about St. James. E.D. White, really great resume the last couple of years. They're third in the state with 49 points per game scored. They're limiting their opponents to just 12 points a game, too. So, it's not just offense. They are limiting those defensive opponents, too. They're looking for their second undefeated season in 3 years. St. James has a great offense right now in its own right. They have scored 376 points on the year. Braden Williams, quarterback for St. James, he's just a terrific player. 1,700 yards on the year, almost 1,800 yards and 25 touchdowns. Looking at it, you would think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I don't know, Ken. I kind of think this may be, maybe not low scoring, but it's going to be lower than what they're used to. It's just going to be two good teams going at it. But, E.D. White, they're just so hot right now. They're so good. And especially if they can go on the road and get that win at St. James, it's going to bode well for them going into the playoffs.
Looking at a matchup toward the Bayou area, you got Hanson Memorial, Vermilion Catholic. Of course, VC is 9-0 and a traditional power. Has been there, done that. The Tigers 7-2, certainly an underdog here. And look, I think this is a PowerPoint's game for Hanson. Everybody thinks Vermilion's probably going to win the game, but as far as Vermilion Catholic's concerned, I think it's a matter of, are they good enough to topple that number 1 seed this year, who we all know who that is. So this is an intriguing game from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Vermilion Catholic, they're hoping to seal up the undefeated regular season and get into the Division IV playoffs with a high seed in the bracket. Eagles are looking to have a good setup, but they're going to have to defeat a Hanson squad that's really has improved over the years. But here's the thing about this series. The last time Hanson won in this series was back in 2008. So it's been a long time since Hanson has beaten Vermilion Catholic, much less going on the road to beat a really good Eagles squad. But yeah, kind of like what you said, this is really a PowerPoints matchup. It's really going to boast Vermilion's PowerPoint resume with the win. They can get 17 points out of this. But if Hanson can somehow catch the Eagles slipping, what a great PowerPoint win this would be for them. But definitely a good matchup in that district this week.
Great matchup up north, Haynesville and Homer. Haynesville 8-1, Homer 7-2. This was a classic a year ago, 28-27, Pelicans. And these are, two really good programs. Homer's been there, done that. We know what Haynesville's history is. They've only got 1 loss this year. It's a good district, and obviously this is a big matchup.
I know, Ken. You hurt my heart when you put this on here because the Haynesville guy in me, you know who I'm rooting for, but such a tough matchup to talk about. But no, this is a great matchup. And one thing I'm really proud of about this matchup, Ken, is finally I feel like this rivalry is back. Homer struggled for so long over the last decade, and what Richie Casey has done there over the last few years, taking them to state championships, winning state championships. This rivalry means something again. The oldest high school football rivalry in the state. It's going to emanate from Homer on Friday. It's the 114th meeting between the two schools. It started in 1907. Haynesville leads the all-time series with 73 wins. But Homer's won the last 4 meetings against the Golden Tornado. You point out a school in the state of Louisiana that has won 4 straight against Haynesville. I promise you it's not many. But it's the first time in this series that the Pelicans have won 4 straight against Haynesville. So, props to Homer and what they've been able to do over the last few years. Saying that, this isn't the same young Haynesville team that they faced over the last several seasons. The Tours have rated District 1-1A while preparing for the postseason with a tough non-district schedule. Only lost to a really, really good Oak Grove squad, which they led in the first half of that game until a couple of snafus kind of threw them for a loop. But Homer's lost twice to schools with a combined 13-5 record. Only 1 loss to an in-state school, so they breezed through league play. Zion Warren, Homer quarterback, he threw for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns last week against a Glenbrook squad who has improved over the last few years as well. They're kind of down this year, but for Haynesville, look for Alonzo Jackson to be one of the two-way players to watch. He's really good in the ground game and as a defensive back. So look for a really a good defensive matchup between these two teams, but if Haynesville's caught sleeping, Homer can definitely slip up and win the District 1-1A title for another year. So we'll see, Ken. My heart wants to pick Haynesville, but I'm going to stay neutral this go around.
Here in South Louisiana, District 9-5A matchup, John Curtis Christian at 6-2, Carr at 8-0. Cougars rallied late to beat Rommel last week. John Curtis, of course, is playing really well now after having that lull in the middle of the season. Of course, it could be the all-time record for JT Curtis on the field with victories if Curtis can win. Carr's certainly a favorite. They whipped Curtis a year ago. That's fresh in the minds of the Patriots. This one figures to be a lot closer.
Yeah, talk about PowerPoint implications. We spoke about that the other day on our call, Ken. Quest for the Catholic League crown for Carr. And John Curtis definitely improved. I was looking through my notes the other day. John Curtis has come on as of late. They've limited 2 of their last 3 opponents to a touchdown or less, which is really good. Ed and Carr limiting their opponents to 11 games this season. But I don't know, makes me think that this may not be a defensive stand. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game between the two. I think they're going to go at it. Curtis is fighting for a seed position. They're on the outside looking in as far as first round bye is concerned, and Carr's trying to hold on to one of the top seeds. just a lot riding on this game. Again, Carr's trying to go for the district title. Curtis is definitely trying to improve their seeding in this matchup. But this has turned out to be a really good rivalry over the last few years. So I'm interested to see, and let's see if Carr can close out that undefeated regular season.
No doubt. It's going to be fun. And watch the kicking game there. Carr is just – they've made big plays in the kicking game to win games all year long. They returned a kick for a touchdown, returned a punt to set up a touchdown last week, the largest reason why they were able to overcome Rummel late. Newman St. Charles Catholic, showdown, district title on the line, 2 undefeated football teams, and they collide every year. Comets have had the best of it in close games recently, and they're at home at Thomas Dupuy Memorial Stadium. So this is a good matchup. Again, Newman is the ultimate team this year, not having the big name, just having good players, extremely well coached. Eli Friend's done a great job, and St. Charles Catholic is just good in all phases. Brady St. Pierre's a good leader at quarterback. And again, watch the kicking game here because the Comets always make big plays in the kick game.
Absolutely, and that just goes to show how Newman can churn out athletes every year, even though they don't have a big name. Look at them; they're undefeated this year with some really good wins. But there's more than a district championship on the line this week. Newman's trying to squeak by St. Charles Catholic, which is they've performed really well this year. They've allowed 99 points on the season. They're averaging 37 points per game. Whoever wins this game, I'm pretty certain is going to be the number 1 seed in their division.
Certainly St. Charles will be, yeah. Certainly St. Charles would be, yes.
Yeah, certainly St. Charles would be. You got Calvary Baptist in the mix, but St. Charles' schedule is just a little bit tougher as far as the power points are concerned. But yeah, either way, I think one of these teams is going to end up a number 1 seed. But definitely a St. Charles defense that has just played lights out this year. So, Newman's definitely going to have to be on their A game. But like you said, Eli Friend, a really good quarterback, got some weapons around the field. It's going to be interesting to see. I think this is going to be a interesting game to watch defensively. I'd like to see how St. Charles is going to do against a Newman squad that I really think is not as good as last year, but they're 8-0. They got to be doing something right. They've got a really good offense, and they're able to score at will. So we'll see what the Comets can do.
Yeah, I think Newman may not be as talented individually, but I think they're a better team this year.
As a team.
The Comets, on the other hand, are just tough, and they're at home. So it's a tough task for anyone to ask there. Now, rivalry game renewed in North Louisiana. Ruston 9-0, West Monroe 8-1. Yeah. Been there, done that. This has been one that we've watched for many, many years, and West Monroe dominated it until most recently. So the worm has turned, so to speak, and will it continue in that direction with the Bearcats?
Yeah, I think Ruston is going to come away the winners in this game. Will it be, a tight game? I think so. West Monroe's playing pretty well right now, especially under new coach Kevin Davis. I think he's been able to do a fantastic job, despite what all is going on there this year. But Ken, Ruston's just so good. They played really well this year. They played a lot of good teams and beat those good teams. So, but West Monroe, they're much improved. They beat I thought is a talented Alexandria squad last week. Rebels have won 4 straight since that 48-7 loss to Zachary. So they're improving week by week. But like I said, Ruston's only allowed 19 points in their last 3 games, and they have wins over Lafayette Christian, Neville, Cabot, Arkansas. So they're just rolling right now. They want to get back to the Superdome and get those reservations booked. So, but definitely a game they can't overlook prior to the playoffs. But playing well right now. But look for a good fight from West Monroe at West Monroe. That's a tough atmosphere to play in.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. St. Thomas More, Lafayette Christian. Here we go again. The next in the trilogy of this matchup. Schools are moving into different classes next year, but here they are battling each other once again. And we all know what happened in the Superdome a year ago. And that was Smarts, where the Knights are concerned. They let one get away. Cougars, meanwhile, have gone undefeated this year. This one, of course, is at LCA. Here we go. Tremendous matchup.
Yeah, district title up for grabs. Number 1 seed for St. Thomas More if they can upset Lafayette Christian. I think Lafayette Christian's number 1 seed right now. It won't be a walk in the park. St. Thomas More has to bring its best defense. Lafayette Christian possesses the highest scoring offense in the state, 51 points per game. So that just goes to show you what Juwan Johnson and that LCA offense has done. But St. Thomas More is averaging 42 points in their own right, and they're limiting their opponents to 13 points per game. Sam Altman, the quarterback for STM, which is kind of like Daniel Bill, I feel like he's been there for a while too. 1,800 yards passing on the year, but Juwan Johnson, he's just on fire. 3,100 yards of total offense through the air and on the ground this year. Again, going after Brock Berlin's career offensive record that he's held since the late 1990s. So a lot riding on this game. Rematch from the Superdome last year, which was probably one of the best championship games I've ever watched. Just so much talent all over the field. If you're in this vicinity, you got to go watch that game in the Lafayette area this week.
Last but not least, going back up north again, Sterlington 8-1, Wasman 8-1. Great district, great matchup, and a lot on the line here. Not just district, but also seeding.
Ken, when I was doing my projections for the playoffs, and people have been calling and texting me and asking about this game, I don't know. I don't know how this game's going to go. It could go either way. I really do. It's going to be that close. You can give pros for each team and why they're going to win. But hats off to Wasman. 6 points allowed per game, 5 shutouts on the year. A win. A lot is riding on this game for Wasman. A win could lift them to the top 4, which gives them a first-round bye, which just goes to show you what Terrence Cahey and his crew have just done in transforming this Wasman squad over the last few years. A Wasman squad that struggled for so long and really is a storied program, championships and going to the state championship for so long. But Sterlington and Lee Doty are not going away. They want to hold on to that top seed in their non-select Division III. They're ready for a showdown. They know what it takes to win the big games. They've been in the big games the last few years. So this is definitely maybe new territory for Wasman, so to speak, for their players. But expect nothing but a great football game between these two teams, and it's for the district title. Hats off to Wasman. They've played really great this year. So hard to pick between the two. They're both great coaches, great players, two good teams to go watch in the Monroe area.
Very much so, and of course, let's see if Wasman can match the intensity of last week with that huge win over Union Parish.
Absolutely.
So, again, big game, a lot of seeds to be determined. Of course, on Sunday, you can absolutely check out GeauxPreps.com to see what's going to happen as late as early Saturday before the official periods come out. We encourage you to do so. Of course, Hunter will be on our original Prep Football Report Friday night with Jude Young and Les East at about 6:20. Tune in then, and of course, the entire show from 6 p.m. until midnight with coverage of 52 games with reporters found out all over the state. So hope you'll do that too. And stat leaders from GeauxPreps.com and our scoreboard on Friday night at Crescent City Sports and beyond. Two best sites you'll find. And 2-1. We're all on board with supporting each other for the right reasons. So always a pleasure, Hunter. Keep up the good work. It's going to be a busy weekend.
Yes, sir, but this is what we live for. We love it, and Ken, again, thank you for what y'all do and helping us out, and we love helping y'all out. It's been a great partnership so far, and can't wait to talk to you next week.
All right, Hunter, thank you so much.
All right, have a good one.